Well, first of all, let's make a few things clear. He said that the Republicans had regained control of the House, which they are set to do, but they haven't technically done yet. And he also claimed that most of his endorsed candidates had done very well in the midterms, that his record was actually very good. But if you look at most of the swing states, the key states that matter really, especially looking ahead to the presidential election in 2024, most of his endorsed candidates actually lost. So his record right now, after the 2022 midterm elections, is not looking great. And that is why you're seeing a lot of Republican officials, elected officials, members of the party, saying that this is maybe not the best bet for the Republican Party. You, of course, had former Vice President Mike Pence saying that there might be better options out there than Donald Trump. He still does have a very core base, probably a third of the Republican Party that is a diehard Trump, and they will vote for Trump. But there are clear challengers. And the first one is one that hasn't even declared, hasn't even said that he wanted to run for president, but Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he is seen as the rising star of the Republican Party. He won in a landslide in these midterms, and he did very well at a time when the Republicans didn't do exactly that well. And he's seen, as many in the Republican Party, as the best of both worlds. He is part of the Trumpism wave of the Republican Party. He abides by the Trump policies and the Trump style, and he has been a Trump supporter, but he comes without the baggage of the former president. And so a lot of Republicans feel that he is the one who could grab the Trump base, but also be able to win in a general election. So this announcement by Donald Trump is nothing of a surprise. Everyone was expecting it, but it's not something that the Republican Party as a whole was really happy with. Actually, a lot of them tried to prevent Donald Trump, tried to advise him not to announce yet, or not to announce at all. But of course, the former president does what he wants, and he wanted, of course, to announce to run for 2024. And as we heard in the speech, to try to make America great again, as his slogan wants to say.
Kethevane, don't you think it was pretty much unusual, though, that he should launch this presidential bid so early? I mean, the timing now with the numerous investigations he is under, for instance?
Well, it's actually a little bit later than what he would have hoped, because he has been teasing this announcement for weeks now, and a lot of members of the Republican Party actually managed to delay this announcement a little bit till after the midterms, because they didn't want it to interfere with the election process. But of course, you are right to mention those investigations, because the former president is facing several investigations. Two federal investigations, one into, of course, his handling of secret documents of intelligence, all those things that he kept at Mar-a-Lago, where he just made his announcement, but also that he has kept with him. And he's also investigated for, of course, his role in the January 6th attack on the United States Capitol. He's also facing a state investigation in Georgia, where he is accused of interfering with the 2020 election by trying to meddle in the counting of the votes in the state of Georgia. And he believes, at least according to some reporting here in the United States, that if he announces his candidacy, this will somehow shield him from these investigations. Technically and legally, there is nothing preventing the Department of Justice or prosecutors in the state of Georgia from continuing their investigation and even indicting the former president as simply a candidate for the 2024 election. But of course, Donald Trump knows what he's doing, and he will likely use this, if they ever indict him, use this as part of his campaign to say that the Department of Justice is going after him because he is a candidate, because he is running. So there are two different separate things. The legal aspect, which absolutely does not make any difference whether he's a candidate or not. And the political aspect, of course, is how he's going to play any potential indictment or continuing investigation into his dealings while he was the president of the United States. As you said, we have a lot of time to go until the 2024 elections. A lot of things can happen. And this announcement so early on is a way for him to sort of preempt any of these possible indictments.
And Kethevane, very briefly, he very much belittled President Biden, and he still doesn't seem to acknowledge his actual presidential win 2 years ago.
Yes, and Donald Trump has never actually acknowledged that he lost the 2020 election and that Joe Biden is the president of the United States. And he has continued peddling those election lies, continuing with the midterm elections in 2022, casting doubt and claiming fraud in several states, including in the state of Arizona. So this is really the modus operandi of Donald Trump, to continue with those lies, to attack Joe Biden, to attack really any of his rivals, because we've seen him also starting to attack some of his potential rivals within the Republican Party. And I'm, of course, thinking of Governor Ron DeSantis, who hasn't even announced yet, but Donald Trump has been attacking the Florida governor over and over again, giving him a nickname, which is, of course, a sign from Donald Trump that he is not really happy with that person. So what you heard in the speech is really something that we've been hearing all along. Every time we've seen Donald Trump at rallies during this campaign, anytime he makes a speech, he goes through the same sort of elements of his speech, which is attacking Joe Biden, attacking the decline of the United States ever since he left office, and attacking those who he sees as not being loyal enough to him. And this is really the core message of Donald Trump, really sparring that anger, getting his base riled up in support of him, and hoping that this will be enough to get enough Republicans to support his presidency so that he doesn't have that many challengers going ahead.